How to handle payroll during a business acquisition. First, I'll explain who is actually in charge of payroll at closing, because getting this wrong can create legal nightmares. Then, I'll cover the legal landmine that most owners don't know, called the WARN Act, and how it can blow up your deal. Finally, I'll give you some communication strategy tips so that you can communicate clearly to your employees and minimize the risk of them leaving. By the end of this video, you will have a clear path for handling payroll employees through this transition so nothing falls through the cracks. Payroll continuity is critical for employee retention throughout a transition. Employees get anxious during these times. Any disruption in payroll, even a late paycheck, can trigger panic and have departures. The best transition plan is invisible. Same pay, same day, no gaps. Losing key employees during a transition can directly affect earnouts and business value. It is not fair to employees and sometimes not legal to ask them to delay pay during a transition. So who is responsible for payroll prior to and post close? This is typically a negotiation point in the purchase agreement. Typically, the seller runs payroll through the day of close, and then the buyer takes over from the day of close going forward. Within the purchase agreement, you need to identify how much money needs to be retained in the business to cover the portion that the seller employed all the employees. In an asset sale, sometimes employees' contracts are terminated with the seller and renegotiated and created with the buyer. Typically in a stock sale, nothing changes because the buyer is buying the entity. Payroll like this is typically handled on the closing statement through working capital adjustments. If closing falls in a mid-pay period, both parties need to agree how it's going to be handled. This seems like a little nuanced of a detail. However, it involves real money and real people and can really slow down the process and have major ramifications post-close if not dealt correctly. In an asset sale, the buyer will identify what employees they want to employ, what positions to offer them, and the terms. In a stock sale, all employees are typically transferred with the entity. As a buyer, they will identify key employees and may even give them retention bonuses for staying on post-close. As I stated before, the WARN Act a lot of times can catch sellers off guard. The WARN Act requires an employer to notify the employees 60 days before a mass layoff. On a national level, that's 100 plus employees. Some states have lower thresholds. Violating the WARN Act can have significant penalties. I would highly advise both buyer and seller, if layoffs are considered at all, to have discussions with a competent attorney to make sure everything is done legally and as it should. When it comes to communicating with employees, timing is critical. If you go too early, you have risks of losing key employees. If you go too late, some employees will feel blindsided. Typical practice, key employees and key management figures get told right before the close occurs, with the remaining employees typically notified immediately after close. There's many different strategies here, but having the new owner come in and communicate with the old owner can have a united front. It can show a clear message of continuity, job security, and lay out the next steps the new ownership is going to take. As you're in this process, I'd advise don't leave this to the last minute. Build the payroll transition process into the purchase agreement from the very beginning. Identify the payroll provider, transition timeline, benefit continuity, and the communication plan as early as possible. Your deal attorney and your HR team should be aligned on this well before closing day. Understanding how this process works is only half the battle, but the other half is making sure your business is architected for value. I made a video that goes through the framework, how to find and fix hidden constraints that can sink a deal. The reason I want you to go watch it is applying that framework is what protects your deal value when buyers start coming in and digging. Go watch it next. I've linked it right here.